Midweek Politics with Dave Pakman on midweekpolitics.com.
Welcome back to Midweek Politics. Make sure to check out our website, midweekpolitics.com. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/midweekpolitics. Well, I've been watching a bunch of the Elena Kagan confirmation hearings in the Supreme Court, and how could she possibly fail at this point, right? No one is even saying anything anymore during these hearings. Number one, there's kind of like three main objections that I've identified that are being used by Elena Kagan, but not just by her, by everybody, to not have to talk when you are actually in a confirmation hearing in the Supreme Court. Number one is that's an issue that may come before the court, so it wouldn't be proper for me to address that. Number two is I haven't thought about that enough to comment yet, even though it's something that, hey, you probably should have thought about by now. And number three, that's not a case that I've ever heard of. Now, it's true, Elena Kagan was being asked by a number of different senators about specific cases in their states, in some cases, which obviously she has not heard of. And I think it's just it's a little bit of grandstanding on the part of the senators to get individual cases or people in their states into the record. I don't even know. Clearly she would not have heard of a lot of these cases. Maybe it's to make her look bad. I think that realistically, Elena Kagan is going to be confirmed with very little trouble, even though Jeff Sessions, for example, said he is much more concerned about the Kagan nomination after getting a chance to question her than before. Now, here's something interesting. When I was in D.C., we interviewed John Boniface, who is a voting rights attorney and a political activist, and he told me a story after the interview. We actually ended up flying home on the same flight, and I got a chance to talk to him. He told me about a blogger who had come out and published a blog post about John Boniface and about Elena Kagan, saying, you know what? When he was running for Secretary of State here in Massachusetts in 2006, Elena Kagan donated $500 to him. So here is just an excerpt from this blog post, and it's really pretty extraordinary. The author is Morgan Richmond, and he says, every media outlet has failed to report or missed a campaign contribution of Kagan's, which seems pretty notable, given how little is known about her political beliefs and preferences. In 2006, she made the maximum contribution of $500 to John Boniface, who was running in the Democratic primary for Secretary of State of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I suspect many of you have never heard of him, but it turns out he's as far left as you can get before joining the Bernie Sanders fan club. So I said, I have to investigate this because we just had him on the show, and it sounds pretty interesting. So the article goes on and it says, Boniface is so far out of the political mainstream that he overwhelmingly lost the campaign for Secretary of State, even in liberal Massachusetts. He was a far left fringe candidate, and Kagan supported him. Now, one campaign isn't much of a basis to draw any conclusions, but hey, you be the judge, and essentially calling into question this association. So it's fascinating how Morgan lists as evidence that Boniface is an extreme lefty, that he supported ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Because let me remind you, Lewis, who else supports ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? Tea Party champion Rand Paul, who certainly is no liberal. So it's a silly way to make Boniface seem like he's just an extremist liberal when Rand Paul himself, who is at the center of his own controversy, wants to get out of those wars, is it not? And there's many conservatives who want to get out of wars. They just don't want to be involved at all.
Of course.
Now, he also references, the article references that Boniface supported the impeachment of George W. Bush. And he told me on the flight, and also has said in previous interviews, that he supported the impeachment of Bill Clinton too. So I think the fact that it's this type of story that's being written up about Elena Kagan, that proves there really isn't very much on her. There's really no reason that she would not get confirmed. And I think we have to assume it will happen in pretty short order. Now, does that mean that we don't want to see tough questioning during the confirmation hearings? Of course not. I mean, it's great to actually see some kind of dialogue and discussion about these things. We absolutely want that. But Do we want articles claiming that a $500 donation to a voting rights attorney 4 years ago is a reason that she should not be confirmed? I think to call it a stretch would be an understatement, would it not?
It is a bit of a stretch, but you can expect lots of Obama
nominees, associates.
Well, anyone who Obama elected would nominated, right? Would people will throw a stink, even if it was Jesus, even if it was I don't know, you name it. People aren't going to like it.
Well, there's a new poll up on our website, and the poll is Supreme Court nominee Elena Kagan will be confirmed easily, be confirmed but not by much, or not be confirmed. The poll is up now on midweekpolitics.com, and I invite you to check it out. We will get to results from our most recent poll a little bit later in the show as well, which relates to the oil spill. Midweek Politics is made possible in part by CSR Wire, the corporate social responsibility newswire at csrwire.com, by DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at difdesign.com, and by shentrition.com, provider of all-natural superfood and adaptogenic herbal blend at shentrition.com. To find out more about underwriting Midweek Politics, visit midweekpolitics.com.